Welcome to Let's Play Rule the Waves 3 as Germany, starting in 1935. We are up to August 1947. We're about 7 months through a major, if not actually world war between Germany and Japan on the one hand and Britain and France on the other. I've titled this episode Royal Navy and Marine Nationale Still Strong because, well, they kind of are. Yes, I had a major and decisive victory against primarily the French in the last episode, which felt really good and pretty much doubled the number of losses we have inflicted on the Royal Navy and the Marine Nationale. And yet, they are still pretty hefty. Let's have a little look at that. So on a fleet deployment basis, we can see they've still got 5 battleships. We have none. All 4 of our battlecruisers are in repair after being really in the thick of it last month. 8 carriers, 8 light carriers. We have our 5 carriers, stalwarts, absolutely great. And then that gives them 290 blockade against our 106 now. With our battlecruisers returned, that will take us up to about 170, so there's still a big mountain to climb. Trivial forces in the Mediterranean, so I don't have to fear not having a battle in the Mediterranean, because I'm certainly going to decline fleet encounters in the Northern Europe area until my battlecruisers come back. They've withdrawn almost all of their forces from the Western Atlantic, and a couple of CVLs just, in their back pocket, still in Africa. And what, you may ask, do they have fighting the Japanese? Well, they have a battlecruiser and a CVL and a couple of heavy cruisers, which, in fairness, is the most I've ever seen them against the Japanese. This is all sea areas, so it's the Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, Indian Ocean kind of area. The triumphant battle we had in the last 2 episodes has taken the amount of points we've inflicted on over 1 million, so doubled it. We've now sunk 2 carriers, 6 battlecruisers, and battleships, and a CVL. They've also lost a CVL to Japan. Or was it to mines? I think it was to Japan. They lost 557 airplanes and 2 against our half as much. And 8 prestige points and 61,000 VPs net. So, that's pretty good. But, unfortunately, this is the current balance of power. So, we started off with the Royal Navy with their 6, 7, 8 battleships and battlecruisers, and we chipped away at them pretty successfully in the first couple of battles, and then the French came and doubled the number of battlecruisers and battleships that we had to face. And yes, in our last battle, we took a gratifyingly large chunk out of their combined battle fleet, but it's kind of only returned us to back where we were in January at the very start of this war. Likewise, they started with 6 fleet carriers and then had another 4 added. We've chipped away at them, knocking off a couple, but, honestly, more to do there. And finally, likewise, with the light carriers, the British started with 6. The French took them up to 15. 1 we've lost now. I probably should knock off the second one because I think as I said, the Japanese have lost one as well. So they've probably lost 2, but still, ouch. So, although I don't really rate the light carriers, I've included them here because a couple of light carriers, or certainly 3 light carriers, is worth a fleet carrier. Obviously, the main danger is their battleships and their carriers. Given that this is 1947, it is noteworthy that the battleships and battlecruisers are absolutely holding their own as valuable fleet units, inflicting serious damage. And in fact, the battleships and battlecruisers, modern ones, they're so rugged that, actually it kind of needs either an overwhelming splattering of aircraft from the fleet carriers to sink them, or a good old-fashioned sustained gunfight. So that's where we are. Let's just bring up the position of where we are now. So minus 8,000 on the maintenance. This is starting to cause concern because I've been in negative every single month that I've been at war. As you can see, 3 months and 3 months for the Graf Spee and the Graf Stauffenberg, 2 months for the Von der Tann, and a month for the Reichsgraf. So yeah, bit concerning. Not to mention 3 months for Bremen, which was honestly quite lucky to get back, and a month for Scharnhorst, 2 months for Blücher. So the big ships took big pounding, plus a few destroyers added in there as well. One interesting conversation that appeared in the comments was about the captain of the Graf Stauffenberg, a Captain Susi Breiker, who is below average, but also a gunnery expert. And it had me thinking, well, which is more important? And so I've done a little bit of analysis on the gunnery success for the battlecruisers. So, yeah, who's the ace? Well, it turns out, as you can see, it's the Von der Tann. Well done, Von der Tann. You can see I've taken the 4 battles in which the main armament out of the 5 got to fire and sorted out how many hits per battle there were. And so the first thing you can see, obviously, is the dominant position of the most recent battle off Iceland in the yellow. More than 50% for almost all of the battlecruisers. Secondly, some greater success during the attempted invasion of Norway. So the Reichsgraf underperforming here. You'll notice that all of the ships are 4 battle star ships, aside from the Graf Stauffenberg, which has picked up a 5th battle star. And yeah, they're all average for the Graf Spee, below average and gunnery expert for Stauffenberg, average and gunnery expert for the Reichsgraf, and average, but their captain was recently promoted to Rear Admiral, and they had a new captain for the invasion of Iceland. But the old captain was doing pretty well, possibly hence his promotion, particularly during the stormy carrier battle off Norway. So, yeah, it's a bit inconclusive because this average gunnery expert in the Reichsgraf isn't doing as well as this below average gunnery expert for Stauffenberg, which is marginally the second most effective battlecruiser in the fleet. So I'm minded, I think, to keep him there. Usually, of course, the Graf Spee is in the lead of the battlecruiser division, having 16-inch guns and the rest having 15-inch guns. I'm not quite sure why Von der Tann has been so successful, even before taking into consideration the Battle off Iceland. Now, in the Battle off Iceland, it was the least damaged and took over responsibility, I guess, from the others who had to slow down and sort out flooding and fire control and all of that, damage control and all of that sort of thing. But it's certainly not a one-to-one correspondence. So yeah, I was thinking of removing the below average, but his gunnery expertise seems to be counter doing that, and he's certainly doing as well as the Graf Spee, whilst the Reichsgraf should be doing better with their average and gunnery expert kind of a guy. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Also interesting is there's been a new beta 40. It's a smallish one, so I'm just going to wrap it in here rather than do a completely separate thing. But what we're going to see is a number of game improvements. So first of all, there's going to be weather forecasts pre-battle suggesting how the weather may change during the battle. Terms and conditions apply. Weather forecasts are always dodgy, particularly in the 1940s, but these can get better as technology gets better. Secondly, the save path is going to be shown when you save a file. So you can see here users, and then your username, documents, my games, Ruler Waves 3 is where you'll find the save file. And then there's just a resolution for this whole pre-1900s heavy cruiser, or sorry, armored cruiser, protected cruiser thing that kind of got a little bit unhinged in the 37 beta and got corrected slightly in the 39 beta, but has been, I think, finally put to bed in the 40. So for those of you who are playing pre-1900, armed cruisers cannot have protected cruiser armor schemes, and they must be over 8,000 tons, and they must have an armored belt in order to be armored. And France and Russia are having a little bit of a tech bonus tweak with a belt and sloping armor, because France and Russia got very keen about armored cruisers in the 1890s. So I expect that's probably all of that. Let's go back to the game. As mentioned earlier, I'm probably not going to do very much this month with the battlecruisers in repair, unless, you know, a gift horse comes along that I don't want to look in the mouth, or I have no option. I'm going to turn the intel on France up to medium. Sorry about the cost. I am concerned about running out of money, but I'm not really sure what I can do to bring that down too much. I don't want to lower the submarines because they are part of my pincer movement against Britain and France to put them under blockade and break their will to continue on fighting, even though our will is being strongly tested at 7. And obviously, I don't really want to decommission any of the fleet that seems to be doing pretty well. So yeah, just have to cross fingers. Let's push on. A cruiser battle. Let's see what, well, the French decline, so that's always nice to see. And a cruiser action in the Mediterranean off Greece. Doesn't seem too bad. Closer to our bases in Greece than the French bases in Tunisia, or perhaps the British bases in Malta and, I presume, Egypt. And the French decline again. Well, I'm all in favour of the French just gratuitously giving us stuff. And nice one there. Yep. That all looks... Oh, I bet I'm declining this, certainly, even though it's a carrier battle. Right. Yep, I can decline. I will decline. Expected some cruisers and supporting forces. I mean, it's tempting, isn't it? I've got Flug 1 and 2, light cruisers, a couple of heavy cruisers, and a fistful of destroyers, many of which won't be able to make it out here into the western approaches. I'm going to decline that one. Convoy battle. Well, I do like a convoy battle, but the French don't. And so that's it. Great Britain is dominating the seas. Lose 50p. 50p? 50 victory points. Obviously, that's because the cruisers and battle cruisers are in repair. 4 new subs. Lutzow is in the yard with engine problems. Somebody reminded me, whilst you're being repaired, that's a great opportunity to look for refit opportunities, which I've completely forgotten, so I will do ASAP. The final load of little trawler minesweepers have entered service, so hopefully that should be on top of the minesweeping problem. Some fire control improvements, improved electro-optical director, light forces and torpedo, lightweight materials for torpedo mounts. Okay. Early missile jamming. Well, that's nice. I'll have a bit of early missile jamming. Thank you very much. Sunk one of our coastal subs. We sank a destroyer. Sank another coastal sub. And another one. These are all French. The French are very active. And a 4th one and a 5th one. Wow, the French are being a bit punishing. So they sank 6 of our submarines. Ouchie. Okay, correction, they sank 5 and a 6th one failed to return because of accidents or some such. That's taken our number of U-boats lost to merchant ship lost down to 5.6 merchant ships per U-boat. And really, ever since the French have come in, it's increased the ASW forces and correspondingly decreased the number of transports we were sinking. So we were sinking happily 40 or 30, and now we are around about 19, 25, 22, so low 20s instead of 30 and above. So that's had a real nasty impact. So not super thrilled by that. We might as well formalize as an alliance. Well, yes, happy with that. Japan adds a couple of 100 points, which is neither here nor there. So lots of corvettes doing stuff, and yep, lots of corvettes. So they're really piling on, Britain and France, the number of corvettes to try and bring down their merchant ship losses. Okay. So September, yes. Let's look at refit opportunities. So let's look at the Graf Spee first of all. Now we're already overweight, which is a bit of a shame. I don't obviously want to do very much with the main guns. The secondaries all look fine. I could lighten, I could put a radar director on. That would be popular. But then I would need to probably bring down this. Actually, we are well over topside weight, and bring down some of these too. There we go. So that's the correct topside weight. We have a look at additional armament. We've got these planes. Well, let's get rid of them. Okay, which is great and gives us a little bit of weight remaining. Now, we could add missiles, heavy surface-to-surface missiles. I mean, wouldn't that be fab? Trouble is, if we add a couple on, we get 2 missiles. I mean, I'm loving them. Slightly overweight, I can figure that. But the time jumps to 8 months. I cannot have the Graf Spee out of action for 8 months. So sadly, that's a no-no. And even so, even with this, having it out of action for 4 months just to effectively put in medium AA director is also probably a no-no. I mean, but I remembered last turn and increased it from 3 months to 4 months. Well, I think actually that would have been a difficult decision as well. Okay, so that's an NO. Let's look at the Stauffenberg, also overweight, also probably doesn't even have seaplanes, which is unfortunate. So yeah, we'll just leave that one as it is. The Reichsgraf is back in service. And then let's have a look at the Von der Tann, also overweight. I don't know why it's grown overweight, but there you go. And again, not much wiggle room here other than in reducing the number of light and medium AA. And yeah, I need them in action more than I need that particular change. Let's have a look at the Lutzow that has engine trouble and has gone into repair. Because yeah, this would be great. Ooh, look at that. Let's just press the auto. Yes, isn't that nicer? So again, we're overweight. We're in for 3 months. We actually don't have any medium or light AA. Probably do want some mediums, which means we need to bring this down a bit so that we can have, I think it was 8 is the magic number. Yeah, that still needs to be adjusted. We do not have aeroplanes on this. I would love to add some heavy SAMs to this. So let's add them all. Let's just check that's all. Okay, the ship's overweight, but aside from that, that seems reasonably good. So that would give us 4 heavy surface-to-surface missiles, no reloads. Okay. So nothing else can be done here. So I guess taking down the AA director, how much does that lose? And again, brings us down to 60 overweight. Bring this down to 10. Not thrilled with, I mean, they're only 4-inch guns, so they're not, you know, super useful. Let me have, okay, I'm going to go for a bit of a radical overhaul. It's going to take 8 months, which is painful, but it is only a heavy cruiser. Just auto-place them again. I've deleted one of the 8-inch guns, leaving us with 6. I've taken the secondary guns up to 20. I could go to 5-inch, but that wouldn't give us the same amount of heavy anti-air. Would obviously be better against destroyers and whatnot. Yeah, if I go to 5-inch, I only can have 10 instead of 24, and the heavy anti-air drops from 45 to 25. So yeah, sorry, 20 4-inch guns, 200 rounds. I was just able to up it. Increase the number of light AAs to 8. Bring down the mediums with a radar director. And then over here, we've increased the radar limit up to Tech 6 and introduced 4 heavy surface-to-surface missiles. So yeah, interesting. I think I can go with 1 heavy cruiser not being in service, and if we are still at war in 8 months' time, then that is going to be a powerful. Okay, I can't build Tech 5. All right, that gives us a little bit more weight. So I can probably go to 24. Okay, which takes us to 47. Let's just take that. Oop. And have to drop the number of light AAs. Well, I'm cool with that. And then, yes, that's all right. So let's finish that and send that into a good old-fashioned proper rebuild. Actually, let's just say no. That's all gone a mess. There we go. Right. Well, good luck, Lutzow, with a bit of a radical transformation, swapping out heavy guns for heavy surface-to-surface missiles. Shame, big shame, that it's 8 months. But, you know, that's all right. We could put a couple of heavy surface-to-surface missiles on the Bremen, but at 5,500 tons is really way too small for that. So I'm going to say no. And yeah, I wonder if I can put some on a destroyer. And the short answer is yes. I haven't had to change any of the guns. The AA armament of this Z75 is poor. If I delete the torpedoes, I can swap them for surface-to-surface missiles. I'll do one as a bit of a test. We are suffering from a shortage of topside, which is why I can't really, you know, add radar directors to this and stuff. But there you go. Right, so in this period, I need to have a torpedo of some sort. Okay, I've had to slightly decrease the armament and put 1 token torpedo in order to make this legitimate. Do I want to up the fire control? Okay, I can do that. And save. So very much an experimental ship. Oh yeah, let's see how that does. I can spare one destroyer for interesting stuff. Right, I think that's all the tweaking I want to do. So let's push on through September. A battleship engagement. Well, I only have one battleship. We are off the coast of Norway. So let's see what it suggests. So it's against the French. So their planes are in France and in Iceland. The British seem to have completely taken the back seat in this. Neitzel, who's a very good admiral, has managed to fail his command check, which is a shame. Expected enemy forces in the area is 2 CVs, 2 battlecruisers, 3 CVLs. Okay. And we have just the Reichsgraf. Well, this sounds like an ideal opportunity for the Reichsgraf to resurrect its reputation for gunnery, because at the moment it's the laggard of the fleet. 3 heavy cruisers. Shame I can't move that. What with Zeitzel messing things up. An Italian cruiser division of 3 light cruisers. Oh, hello there, Italy. Some destroyers, which all should be fine. And then the carriers. We've both got Flug 1 and Flug 2, so all 5 carriers. So, yeah, they've got 2 carriers and 3 light carriers reportedly. So, yes. The weather forecast is a strong breeze and clear. Sounds, bracingly pleasant. So I'm going to accept this. And yeah, see how this all pans out. We're laying some minefields in, places and stuff. And yeah, attack the enemy ships. Hell yes. And here we are. Very much off the Orkney Isles. Not Orkney, this is Orkney, Shetland Isles. Okay. And we are at a bit of a distance. So over here is the August Parseval. And over there is the Manfred von Richthofen. And here is the Reichsgraf. Now, I was planning to go to captain's mode, and I have gone to captain's mode, which is nice. So I'm always a bit sniffy about captain's mode because, back in the 1890s, 1910s, some players used them to control the launch of every individual destroyer's torpedoes, and I sort of know why they do it, because under AI control, firing torpedoes is super random. And particularly if you're playing somebody like Japan and you get a surprise battle, well, it's both incredibly satisfying and really necessary to maximize that surprise. And so I'm kind of fine with, if you're playing Japan, getting the surprise going into captain's mode. I want to do it here, not because I want to launch individual torpedoes. I'm not going to do that. I'm not that much of a micromanager, but because I want to be able to send ships to go off and do individual stuff. So it's a bit of an experiment, but particularly after last time, I'm keen to see what we've got to play with. So here's the trusty checklist. Time of day. Dusk will be in, let's call it 6 hours. So it's quite late. It's in local time, just 20 past noon. Okay. The battle length is 800 minutes, so not super long. The visibility is 29,000 yards. So that's, a nice clear day. The wind direction is a southerly. So the wind is going up in that kind of way, which is hopefully set fair. we do have a sea state limiting ship speed thing going on. So let's just have a look at the Reichsgar, and we're limited to 28 knots by the weather. Zoom out. Yep. So obviously we are off Stavanger and Bergen. Good air bases. If we zoom out a little bit more and more and more, it's important to notice that this isn't a French air base, so they're not going to get much help from that. We have Trondheim up here, and then here is Honda, and then here is Wilhelmshaven and Emden. And those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 air bases. There's another one up in Narvik, but that might be a bit far. That's, going to be a big help. Go to the Reichsgraf and go to its division, a division of 1. We absolutely want to say request land-based cap over the division. Thank you very much. We'll set the speed to the usual ultra fast. There was a little comments, should I slow the speed down? The speed really just affects the animation, makes it go quickly. And if I'm pressing a minute at a time, it's not actually having any impact on the game. If I am going in 5 minutes when we're out of contact with the enemy, then that just speeds up the animation. And if we are running to port at the end of the battle, ditto, it speeds up the animation. Ultra fast is as fast as it can go. If it's in contact with the enemy, then it's fast. Is it fast or faster? Probably faster is as fast as it can go. Just to clear that up. Order of battle, well, we've had a look at that already. 1 carrier force with escorts, 1 let's just go over here. 1 single battleship and 3 heavy cruisers. So that's important. Let me just have a look what's happening with that. We're heading south. We have the Italians behind us. Let's just check out what kind of guys the Italians are. So 9 6-inch guns. Okay, fair enough. Are they all the same? 12 6-inch guns. Okay. Giovanni is 5-inch guns for the dual purpose AA. So, all right, 3 completely different ones. Here's the Prince Eugen, here's the Scharnhorst, and there's the Gneisenau. Okay, so they are acting as scouts. They're heading south. And if we go up to the carriers, who are approximately 80 miles behind, they're also heading south, or nearly south. Okay, let's go back to him. Battle objective, just to sink more than them. That's fine. So let's look at the all-important scouting, because this is what gives us a sense of where the French are. And in a word, to the south. I'm going to go for this classic 5 search plane, 250-mile distance, 2-phase search. Also, night cap and medium cap is probably fine, given that the air threat is going to come primarily from the French carriers. And if they're to the south, well, then Emden and Wilhelmshaven and Tonda, and indeed Kiel over here, all become a bit of a thing, as well as Stavanger and Bergen. So happy with that. And if we do the carriers, much the same, probably just bring that down to just a little 4-plane search for the carrier force, just to saturate the planes. And of course, I've got patrol aircraft coming from my air bases who should do a good job on the whole thing. Battle plan is pretty simple, really. I'm going to sort out an airstrike in a moment, and I'm going to head south and see what I find. And, I would expect to find the French nearish by. So as soon as I find them, I'm going to try and strike them. I think it's pretty much it. I've gone to captain's mode so I can do fancy pants controls around the heavy cruisers in particular, and possibly the light cruisers of this force. This force, the carriers, they're just going to come south, and then if they get too close to the scene of the battle, I'm probably going to set them onto patrol or something like that, just to, or in fact, move them towards the Norwegian coast. They're going directly into the wind already, which is great, so they don't have to change course to fly off. Whereas, of course, the French will always have to turn away from us with their carriers and increase the range from us in order to launch their planes. So let's just do a little bit of strikeology. Okay, I've asked for readying strikes on both Flug 1 and 2. So hopefully they should be ready pretty quickly. And yeah, that's kind of where we are. Let's go back to the ranks graph, see what is cooking, and see who turns up for battle. Of course, this just goes to show that you don't have to fear being inferior necessarily, because the battle generator still likes to create battles that are balanced and similar. Now, the Prinz Eugen and the Scharnhorst and the Gneisenau and the Italian light cruisers, and indeed ours, all seem to be turning towards the southwest. Not sure why that is. The Reichsgraf seems to be heading stately southeast, but what can you do? Let's see if they sort themselves out a little bit. There go the recons. Off you go, my beauties. And it's obviously the reports that we are particularly interested in. You can see that the radar search in green is ever so slightly longer than the 29,000 yard visibility. And there's a bunch of strikes ready for whenever we find whoever we find. Voila. And I'm just pushing on a minute at a time, just to see. Let's bring this out a little bit. Pile of minefields over here towards Stavanger, it seems. A bit, so you can read the messages. You can read them so that we can read the messages. Okay, I'm going to push this to 5 minutes at a time. Boomsy. So there we have our first contact from the scout plane, from the Scharnhorst. Wonderful. Call me a big tease, but I think I'm going to pause this battle here. We're all set up. We're ready to go. Please come and join me for when the action starts to fly. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.